Okay, for more on the state of the IMF and the World Bank, we're joined by Anthony Chan. Anthony's a former chief economist at JPMorgan Chase and is back with us to discuss. Always good to see you, my friend. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I want to begin by, let's take a look at what Banga was talking about. The fact that the IMF and World Bank are now meeting in Africa, in the shadow of that terrible earthquake that hit recently, bringing death and destruction to Morocco. Now, Morocco is going to need tons of money to rebuild. But the criticism that has come for years and years and years is that African nations are not well represented by these financial groups. We know the institutions say things are going to be different this time, but will they? And comment on the lack of support and representation the IMF and World Bank have among poor nations.
Well, I think the IMF is really trying to make the opportunities more inclusive, especially where those opportunities are needed the most. But it's always easier to set forth a goal than to actually execute it because, again, money is still scarce. Interest rates are much higher around the world. It's much more challenging for these countries to borrow money at higher rates. So it is a challenge, but at least the effort is there.
Is the effort there? I think that's what a lot of people are wondering.
Well, when I say the effort, I mean the intention by these world organizations is there. And when you have the intention, the effort will come. And that's the promise and the hope and expectation that these meetings are, in fact, announcing.
Okay, we'll see. Well, we know also that Janet Yellen, U.S. Treasury Secretary, met with the head of China's central bank during these meetings. What do you make of that? Those two sitting down, and how would you characterize China's relationship with the World Bank as well as the IMF?
Well, I think that China is trying its best to improve those relations. We know that historically China has negotiated with poor countries for loans unilaterally rather than as a group, and I think that there is a push and a hope that somehow all countries, including China, will work together. We'll see, but China has always gone its separate ways, but nonetheless helping out countries. You've just seen the recent potential agreement with Sri Lanka to renegotiate some loans. So that is a positive sign, but many countries want China to work together with them.
Yeah, absolutely. BRICS, of course, wants a bigger, more important seat at the international table. And if member nations can't get assistance from the World Bank and IMF, AIIB is eager to step in. Help our international audience understand the importance of AIIB moving forward and the impact that that institution is having on the IMF as well as the World Bank.
I think it's good competition for the IMF to see this new organization offering funds and offering opportunities for emerging markets. You mentioned the BRIC countries. They certainly are, in fact, in need of extra capital, as many other emerging markets are also in need. And so to see more players, I think, is a very positive development. And I think that China is going to be very supportive of this potential trend.
You have about 45 seconds here. Tell me how you think this meeting is going to be remembered, because it's such an interesting time in the world, the confluence of all these things that are going on, natural disasters, climate change, aggression in various countries.
Well, I think that right now it's a real critical period for many of these countries, because in the wake of all these opportunities or circumstances where there's a huge need for money, especially in many of these areas that are experiencing conflict and will need to rebuild, the question is whether the world will forget those countries that are not in war, but at the same time need capital. I think these world organizations are saying yes. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that becomes a reality.
Great. Anthony, a pleasure. Thank you again for your insight into this issue. We appreciate it.
Pleasure.